Our Old Testament reading is from 1 Samuel chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. The call of Samuel. Now the boy Samuel was ministering to the Lord under Eli. The word of the Lord was rare in those days. Visions were not widespread. At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim so that he could not see, was lying down in his room. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called, "Samuel, Samuel," and he said, "Here I am," and ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call. Lie down again." So he went and lay down. The Lord called again, "Samuel." Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call, my son. Lie down again." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. The Lord called Samuel again a third time, and he got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, "Go, lie down, and if he calls you, you shall say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Now the Lord came and stood there, calling as before, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening."
Sing God a simple song, la-da-la-day. Make it up as you go along, la-da-la-day. Sing like you like to sing. God loves all simple things, for God is the simplest of all. For God is the simplest of all. I will sing the Lord a new song, to praise him, to bless the Lord. I will sing his praises while I live, all of my days. Faith is simple. You believe. On a crisp winter evening in Virginia in 1959, the church service for my father's funeral had just ended. Leaving the Baptist church, Mom, my sister, and brother were standing by the pastor talking, and I walked a short way from them. The freshly fallen snow was pure white, the sky a brilliant dark blue, and the air smelled clean and fresh with a scent of pine. From the open door, a soft light beamed across the snow, and it glistened. Looking all around, I felt comforted, as if his hands were wrapped around me. That was my first remembrance of God. Growing up, when life got tough, I prayed. Not a formal prayer, just a simple conversation with God. It's the people in my life that live his simple love, sharing and caring for others, that remind me he is with me. Over the years, our family moved from coast to coast. Then we landed in Missouri, where we stayed until Mom and I moved out to Washington State, where I went to high school. In the various places we lived, we attended Baptist, Presbyterian, and Lutheran churches. Moving was a great experience, learning about new places, new people, new ideas, and the way they thought. But it's hard to develop roots. All I wanted was to stay in one place and feel part of a community. After high school, we moved again for me to attend Southwest Missouri State, now MSU. And after a few stops and starts, I graduated. I married, and within a few years had 2 wonderful children, 2 boys, Sam and Pete. My love grew for God with the blessings of my children. I had great in-laws who became my second mom and dad. Through their love, I felt the strength of God. They were members of National Avenue Christian Church, and so it became our church. The leaders were good, and the music great. But after 22 years, my first marriage ended, and our family struggled. My conversations with God grew very regular. I learned that the answer to some prayers are immediate, while others are not. I believe we must experience life's struggles to understand them and ourselves. God does answer prayers in His time, when we are ready to listen and grow and to be thankful. One of my prayers was answered when I met John Holder, my husband. He too has taught me through love and care for others to be a more giving person. Newlywed, John and I were looking for a church to attend. Our dear friend and now mom, Jane Chenoweth, invited us to attend South Street. People here were welcoming, the music inspiring, and my relationship with God evolved. Loving to sing, it was easy to join the choir. And I can honestly say they're the best group of people I've ever known. The roots I was looking for all those years have grown here among you all. The sisterhood I found in Rachel's circle, friendships with you all, the work we do each season and throughout the year. And for the homeless, have given me here in my church home the family of community I searched for. Your guidance, encouragement, and love is simply amazing. All that I have experienced in my life, with my family, and with my extended family, is like ripples in the water, reaching out and touching others with God's love. Thank you.
What I hope to share has already been expressed in something Nick said, something Janet did, something Marty sang. Nick said we are called to something magnificent and grand. And Janet broke bread, and Marty sang beautifully of simplicity. Late one night, a student's loud knock awakens a rabbi. And the student immediately apologizes. I'm sorry. I know it's late. You were sleeping, and you've given me so much over the years. I feel like I've learned everything there is to know about the faith. But tonight I'm lost and I can't sleep. Rabbi, I realize I have no idea what it all means. And the rabbi says, neither do I. Come in, pull up to the table, we'll eat. I heard that simple story when I was a teenager, and it helped me. The story didn't answer the questions that had already started to discourage me, like, why does being a gay person make me unwelcome at so many tables? And lots of other questions. But the story did help me see communion differently. Nearly a quarter of a century ago, as a young foster parent, I made a principled commitment not to buy candy in the checkout aisle. You laugh. That lasted weeks. But 8-year-old David had just lost his family, and the idea of a candy bar thrilled him. Now, Jamie, you were 9, and the Butterfinger bar was gone before we got to the car. But that night when I was tucking the boys in, I noticed the Snickers bar, David's Snickers bar, on the nightstand, and I immediately felt guilty. I grew up Catholic, and I asked, did I get the wrong candy bar? David, honey, do you not like Snickers? And he looked at me and smiled and shook his head vigorously and said, no, I love it. Well, he arrived with nothing, and he wasn't going to let go of that Snickers bar. Now, I arranged for David's brothers to come over that weekend for a play date. They had been placed in different homes, and it was such a good time. They played in the nearby park, and we had a feast. I made them frozen peas and Kraft macaroni and cheese with hot dogs cut up in it. And I'll be in the narthex after the service if you'd like the recipe. They ate on the deck and back, and I watched from the kitchen window above the sink as I did the dishes, and they had so much fun. Jamie, you were there with David and his little brothers. And I remember things got suddenly quiet at one point, and that's almost never a good thing. So I stopped what I was doing, and I really looked, and it was odd. The 3 boys were on the edge of their seats. David was standing but kind of leaning over the table. Jamie, your back was between me and the table, so I couldn't see. But I saw the young boys' faces, and they were just so joyful. They'd look at the table, and then they would look at each other and wordlessly seem to express, can you believe it? And so I got on my toes and got a different view through the window, and there in the middle of the table, in the middle of a clean sandwich plate, the Snickers bar was being cut and shared. It's such a small thing, I know, but a small thing was all David had. No one cared about getting slightly more or less. It was fully shared, and that made it plenty. No one cared that Jamie wasn't a biological brother. Anyone at that table had the status of sibling. The smallest thing, the simplest of actions, and I'll never forget it. Truly, it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. The communion I saw through that window is a strong antidote to my kryptonite, right? Isn't that the thing that made Superman lose his power, kryptonite? The scarcity myth. That's what weakens me. That nagging fear that God's love is finite and undependable, that there won't be enough, that I have to hold back, that if I let go and live faithfully and give freely, I might lose everything. Unlike the rich young man in Mark's gospel who mistook good enough for good, little David was all in. And unlike his foster father, who still wrestles with fears inspired by the scarcity myth, he was somehow able to let tomorrow worry for tomorrow. Janet asked me to talk about my faith journey, but like the student in the first story, I've come to understand that my life doesn't make a lot of sense. There are a lot of loose ends, some enduring aches, and my dots don't connect. I'm growing to be okay with all of that, most of that, and you're helping. Instead of the meaningful journey I had hoped for, I treasure shared experience and occasional windows of grace. Jamie, you and I were sitting over here way to the edge, and you started to have a seizure. This was quite a while ago. Now, this has happened a number of times over the decades at different churches. And I don't mean this as a criticism. Part of me understands why it happens, but I'll tell you, those times, no one reacts. We had never gotten any help. It feels odd. When Jamie had a seizure at different churches, we would become invisible. Now, that morning, we're over there, and Jamie starts to to have a tremor and to breathe uneasily, and he's fearful. You could see he feels it coming on. I put my arm around his shoulder to brace him, and I'm looking down and I'm thinking, okay, how do we get out of here? And I saw your shoes, Max. Such a simple thing, but I'll never forget it. I saw your shoes slowly and gracefully coming into our pew. You were seated a section over from us, and somehow you'd seen. And you came over and wordlessly sat by Jamie. And I continued to hold his shoulder to brace him. And Max, not remember, but I'll never forget, it's such a small thing, but you opened your hand next to his. And Jamie took it. Jamie's shaking and perspiring hand needed yours. It was the simplest action revealing a real presence. My journey is a non-starter, but I'm home when I'm with you. I can honestly say that the breaking of the bread at that table with you is among the most important actions of my week. It matters to me that I'm here at South Street Christian Church with all of its opportunities to connect and serve. It matters to me that we aren't invisible to each other when we struggle. That no matter what's happened during the week and no matter what questions weigh heavily, we can all pull up to that table and be assured of a place. It matters to me that the real presence animates real action here in big ways, in small, beautiful ways. And it matters to me that my children can look in any direction from where they now sit and experience their own windows on what it means to act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with God.
And that's why it's so important that we are this loving church family where people feel welcome and we share in the ministry with one another. Thanks to Marty and to Tim for sharing a piece of themselves with us today.